What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly Alive with the Philadelphia Globe. My name is Tyler Acey. Today, I'll be interviewing Commonwealth Choir, the Philly-based indie rock band, about their new EP, No End, out now on No Hope Records. Let's bring in the band. Good. Just holding in there. You got the whole group there. That's awesome. Hell yeah.
The whole posse.
Yeah. What's going on with you guys? How's everything been? How you holding in there with everything going on?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough thing to answer. I mean, we're doing all right. Being able to get together and play again has been, for the last, I would say, would you guys say like month and a half, 2 months?
Yeah.
We've just been, coming back to the space. We were definitely being extra careful early on, and we're still being pretty careful, but it's just great to be playing together again.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Super isolated for a while, so.
Practicing and just kind of getting ready for when you can go out and play in front of people again.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's nice.
Well, I just want to start out and say I love the new EP. I've been listening to it the past couple days. It's great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Basically, I wanted to start with so I was doing a deep dive on like your catalog. I was binge listening to the Commonwealth Choir universe of music, and I was on your Facebook page, and it said you guys say you call yourself Golden Era Indie Rock, and I guess my first question is what does Golden Era Indie Rock mean to you guys?
Well, it's kind of we call it Golden Age.
Golden Age, that's it. Yeah. Golden Age indie rock.
It's not even something that's totally necessarily relevant. I think we used that a long time ago because people ask you what your sound is and like what you're trying to go for, and it's such a weird answer because what you think it is versus what other people think it is maybe always differs. So we just tried to we realized that we were probably more in the indie rock spectrum, and we always drew from some of those like older grooves, like 60s garage rock, and also like a lot of that kind of surfery kind of thing early on, especially that kind of 50s, 60s, early 70s thing. So we thought that was kind of like golden age of indie music that maybe we were doing it. We came up with a good one last week though, right? It was like
Heavy Petty.
I love that. That's awesome. So like, where does that go into? Like, so the new EP, it's called No End, out now on No Hope Records, correct? Everywhere, streamers, all your streamers, all everything. Like you say, Heavy Petty. Like, what specific influences were you going towards when you were kind of writing this EP that is out now?
That's a tough question. We weren't necessarily driving anything particular, I would say, right? I mean, it was.
We had like a ton of songs that got whittled down to those 5. So like, I guess those 5 kind of became a collection, but they weren't like written to be a collection. You know?
Yeah.
They kind of like just took a similar kind of form that seemed like you could listen to it at once. Like, I mean, we had something like 20 or 30 songs that were like in some way or another in the running to work on.
Yeah.
I mean, and then in terms of influences, that really kind of runs the gamut. I think like we were kind of joking about the Heavy Petty thing, but Tom Petty, Elvis Costello, like those guys are really big influences on us. Like that same era, like literally Maurizio was wearing a Clash shirt, like all that kind of stuff. And then we grew up in a time that was very pop punk oriented and kind of thing. And we definitely don't really associate with that sound, but it definitely informs the way that we write some of the, especially hooks and like our transitions and things like that. Like it just becomes kind of a thing. Like we all used to play that kind of music. So I think we use the same bag of tools. So it definitely is a combination of all those things.
Yeah, I definitely hear some Gaslight Anthem in there for sure.
That's Maurizio.
Yeah,
That's my favorite band.
Yeah. Well, actually, I meant to say before early, but can you all introduce yourselves for the camera for all this? Just say your name, say what's up.
Yeah, so I'm Steve. I play drums, and I'm the newest member of the band. Only been with them for about 2 years now, going on close to 2 years. Yeah, enjoying the time here, and we're just having a blast making music. It's cool to play the songs that these guys have written. I'm having a great time.
Cool.
I'm Maurizio Mazza. I play bass in Commonwealth Choir, and I've been with the group for 8 years now. I joined right after the band had just started. And I was asked to play one show in a basement in Philadelphia 8 years ago, and here I am in 2020.
That's how we get them. That's how we get them.
Yeah.
That's how we keep them.
That's how it goes.
I'm Nick. I play guitar and also like record a bunch of the stuff we do. And
I'm Davis. I play guitar and I sing. I guess I write a lot of the songs in their infancy, and then that's kind of my role, and we take it as a group from there. And it's been a long haul. Like Maurizio said, we've been a band since 2012.
Well, even before that, you guys.
There were other iterations, other names, and we've been playing music together for a long time, Nick and I. So.
Well, like you guys were saying, like it's kind of been a long time coming with these. Like I was watching, I found a video on YouTube of you guys playing Treehouse like 4 years ago. So it seems like you've had these songs for quite a bit, and you've been workshopping them and woodshedding them and that whole thing. So yeah, just tell me about like more about the creative process, about how like point A, point B. You said you write the song, you'll bring it to the band, and then just kind of bring me through some of that.
So. It's when to start. So it was after we had released Palace, we were kind of trying to figure out what our next steps were going to be. And we also had, at that point lost a member. We lost our drummer at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were working with a bunch of different people. Our buddy Shane from Olauda, who drums for them. He was drumming with us for a while. And then we eventually linked up with our buddy Andrew Torrey, and at that point, he plays in a band called Palmas, who are absolutely incredible. But we connected to him through our producer Dan Palovich, and at that point, basically, we went into Torrey's space and just kind of were like, "Hey, we originally thought we were gonna make a full length." Right. And so we collected, at that point we had amassed many songs as a full band, mm-hmm. and many more that had just kind of only gotten little pieces. So we kept writing more songs and trying to whittle them down. And like Nick was saying, and we kind of created a whole like A-list, B-list, C-list kind of thing, and just kept working it down with the goal of working with Dan, again, who we had done Palace with. From a creative standpoint, I think it was just like, or a lyrical standpoint, it was definitely like a darker period of time for all of us. Like it was that we were all still young in our early 20s or mid 20s, like still feeling that kind of young gravitas, but also like we started to hit a lot of weird patches in that period of time too. And I think we're all kind of experiencing that at the same time. So a lot of late nights, drinking and smoking, and, you know what I mean? Like we were partying, we really were partying, but having also a blast trying to figure out like what were we going to sound like. We didn't want to be jangly, but we wanted to develop something that was a little darker, I guess. So
we were eating really healthy at that time for sure.
Shameless plug to all delivery pizza drivers. Papa John's at the time.
A lot of Papas.
Port Richmond.
Oh my God.
Ben Tully's, the broccoli bites, just it's really what it's all about. You may not survive. You may not.
Definitely edit out the Papa John's thing. Just
Papa John is on TikTok now, allegedly.
Oh, it's such, dude. Yeah. We're not supporting Papa John himself, just for the record.
Just the pizza.
Yeah,
just the little jalapenos that come in the box.
I agree with that. Yeah. But yeah, like it's definitely like Palace is definitely more like classic indie rock sound, like with the keyboards and everything, and like this has that more punk energy vibe and darker, like you said. So and like there's a cohesiveness to it that I really enjoy, like tonally and everything.
Oh yeah, that's all Dan. You know, he really helped us find that sound. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, maybe you can use better terminology, but it's just
I think it was kind of just committing to like and just being like that's what it is. Like it's guitar driven, it's like drivey, heavy, like, and I think we were going through all these songs, and like I think we were trying to like I always describe it as like trying to be like super interesting with things, and like, but by doing that we were trying to make things into something that they weren't. A lot of times, and a lot of cool ideas came out of that. But what happened with these songs is that they kind of just came back to their core, and we just kind of dug in, and he kind of like just embraced like what they actually were as a song, and then just said, yo, let's just hit all of that really hard instead of trying to get too cute with it. And I think that's how they took that kind of side, because like I think that underbelly was always there ready to come out. We just had to let it like actually
yeah like there's I think it's Down has like, is that the one with the breakdown at the end?
Yeah,
where it's like kind of Weezery vibes going on.
Yeah. I mean, that was I mean, still to this day, I think is probably like our most prolific, without being like self-aggrandizing. I don't mean that, and it's like it's amazing. Just like it's just, it has this huge arc to it, and it's something that, you know, we were, you know, with the whole from the petty mindset, we were like, okay, let's get, you know, let's, as soon as we start this song, we better be in the chorus, and it's, you know, the if we're gonna have a bridge, it better be super catchy and quick and really in, and then just out at like 210, 220, you know. And what Down was originally, like, we started experimenting with that more instrumental side and developing sort of just like slower builds, you know, longer, allowing it to really breathe and find itself, kind of thing. Dan really promoted that. Like when we showed him what we were working on at that point, he was like, yo, let's take this and go like to a whole other place.
Stratosphere.
We thought it was like, we thought it was too long already, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna add like another minute to this. We're like what? Like we're like, I don't know, man, like we trust you, but that sounds crazy, you know.
Well, it's like the longest song on there, right? Like all the other songs are like 2, 3.5, and then this one's like 5+. It's like,
yeah, it's definitely over 5.
Yeah.
Like at the end of a set when we're already super exhausted, it's really it's awesome.
Good second to last set song. So thematically, like there's a lot of like, I was trying to pick from like No End. There's like this whole like innocence of youth kind of vibe going on. Like, can you guys just talk a little about like what you were thinking about thematically on the lyrical end of everything? Like,
sure. I mean, they definitely all have that. You know, it's tough to talk about that kind of stuff because it is kind of cliche. But I think that a lot of times, really, what we're doing when we're listening to music, you know, lyrically, or you know, if we're thinking in creative way of our lives, right? Like we're always kind of comparing the past to the present, and not necessarily dwelling on it. I think that's the thing to avoid, right? But we're always kind of looking to where do we want to be? Where do we want to go? And you're always kind of referencing back to that point and looking forward. So when we were going through these songs, like Nick had pointed out, like they weren't like 5 songs that we wrote as like you know, it's actually a narrative, you know, what's the concept kind of EP, like it, you know what I mean? It's not like there is a consistent story through all of it. But at the same time, we chose that name No End because it kind of has that feeling of what it's really easy to get caught up in thinking that the way things are, if they're not good, are going to keep continuing forever.
Mm-hmm.
And if you kind of embrace that and let go of that, then that no end, the this is never going to stop, almost becomes a positive thing. It flips over. And that was kind of the theme through all of these. It was like, shit is terrible. I am upset. This is what's going on in my life. And I thought it was like this, but it's actually, you know what? Thinking back on it, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I learned a lot. Maybe it offered me this opportunity. So I think that's thematically what ties everything together, probably.
Yeah, and reflects the moment too. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2010. Do you say 2010 in the song? I'm blanking right now, but it's like what's like 2010 as, because you said the band started in 2012. Yeah.
So 2010 is about the year 2010. Personally, for me, I don't know what it was like for everybody in the band, but the common thing for all of us was that, and I think everybody out there, is you have a year that was horrible, but also great, and I probably wrote it in the original version of it. It's probably from 2011, something like that. It was definitely a kind of an angry song originally. Like the original demo of it was very aggressive and not very well sung, because I was just kind of like just banging it out, all really hopped up on coffee. But it's a really good example also too of when it came into the full band format, right? Everyone heard something very different with it, which is what we try to do. We try to, like, those songs or ideas, when they come into the space, it's an open blank canvas in a lot of ways. It's like, feel, vibe, sonically, like what's everyone thinking, and we try it. 2010 was one where we really tried a lot of different things, and we're having a lot of issues with it, but we really liked the song.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan saw it and was like, well, let me hear the demo. And we basically went from the ground up on it. And it was kind of a cool thing, because once we all got on the same page thematically, like from a conceptual standpoint,
mm-hmm.
and we channeled that, I think that's what made that song really fly, is because we all started to think about that period of time, whether we had experienced it in the past or we're experiencing it that year. Mm-hmm. We tried to just carbon copy on it, through our playing.
Yeah. So I'd like to let's transition into the recording process, kind of like how, like you said, because it's gone through a couple different avenues here, right? Like you have your rehearsal space where I assume, and like your woodshedding everything, like do you record there? And then like, because I see it's mixed by Joe Reinhardt at the Headroom and mastered by Ryan Schwab. So you're kind of like bouncing stuff around, right? Like,
yeah. So everything. So we were constantly demoing everything that we were doing. There was a certain point where every actual like time we got together was a demo session, like almost like a full recording session. We were like playing with headphones and like not even having like amps in the room and like all kinds of stuff, like just in case something stuck and was really cool. And we kind of weren't sure at the beginning if we were demoing or if we were making a record. Like we didn't try to limit ourselves, but we also like,
you're just having fun making music.
Yeah. And we also wanted to capture everything in a high quality way. So like specifically Light and Palm Reader, we were pretty convinced that we had recorded them, and like that what turned out to be our demos of them were actually like going to be released. And the ideas that Dan had, the changes that he wanted to make to them, just ended up being worth starting over, because like that, it was like the hardest thing to do, because we worked really hard on what ended up being just a demo, and it's hard to like to swallow that at the time, but the whole bridge of Palm Reader was kind of reworked, and that became like probably one of the like more like fun and like catchy parts of the whole EP. And light we didn't change a whole lot, but like just the approach of doing it with Dan in the room just kind of changed how it went down. So we ended up recording in that same space though, just with Dan there.
Okay.
Kind of guiding every like little kick drum hit and like making sure everything was jiving. And so we kind of like started over right where we left off in a certain way. But
yeah, it became more of it definitely having Dan in there with us, with how formulaic he is, and how like working with him is like working with someone who, he's not like a savant walking around just being like, oh, well, what if you did this? And I think he comes in, he's just like, I have been studying this song for months.
Yeah.
And this is what I think, and let's try this, then let's try this, then let's try this, and still finds a way to give you some like freedom in the middle. So we did wind up multi-tracking everything in that space. But going through that process with him was really fun for that reason, because it was so organized. Like it up to that point, like even though we were recording everything at a very high level, from a quality standpoint, his attention to detail really like allowed us to see so much more in those songs. Like he's saying, like those different sections, the bridges, and even just like little details in verses and choruses. Like he just took it over the moon. And then when we finished, he had a few ideas of who we should mix with, people that he was friends with and had worked with in the past in his projects. And we had been, basically connected to Headroom through our buddy Shane and Mo Lauda and all those guys. And we just love Joe's work. I mean, he's worked on so many great records, not to mention been on so many great, amazing, iconic records. It's like he's one of those, just like, he's a Goliath, and we really look up to him and love his sounds. And so like we brought him up to Dan.
Yeah.
Like Nick was just like, dude, what if we work with Joe? What if it, and Dan could not get over it. Like once he started, he was like, oh, this guy, like he was just like, he's been around the same amount of time, So he just fell in love with Joe's mixes. And
we were listening to the Smidley record that Joe mixed that came out like I guess 3 years ago or something, and that like we just were obsessed with those mixes and those songs and everything. And it just, I think when we were discussing the options, like I don't know, it just hit me. I'm like, this is what I keep listening to over and over again at that time. So like, and he's right there. Like it just kind of made sense.
He really had, it was kind of cool thinking about it from like combining personalities and combining skill sets. Mm-hmm. But Dan really, over time, what started as, garage, indie rock kind of stuff that he would play when he was young, mm-hmm. to the pop projects now that he works on. He has this really interesting blend of like kind of dirty and heavy, but also just like really fine-tuned and tight. And we absolutely love that. But it was really like one of the attractions to working with Joe is that he has a lot of that, perfected, crafted sounds, but he still has this kind of raw, garagey feel that he introduces to everything, mm-hmm. and is a product of the spaces that they've been in and kind of the groups that they played with and play with, whatever. We just thought that having those two those two elements together, just amazing. Like we thought it would be incredible. And then Schwab has just been, he's just, Ryan is incredible. I mean, dude, if you go on his website and look at the stuff that he's worked on,
everybody,
and he like for anyone out there looking to get their stuff mastered and trying to like, you know, take their sounds to the next level kind of thing. Not to like, you know, but it's crazy. Like he's such an affordable, great asset, and he provides feedback. Like because he's actually a professor. Like he teaches over at Drexel. Like he's such an interesting person, and does great work and remains accessible. So I just like props to that dude. He's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to say, like, with like what you were just saying about like this garagey, like messy rock, but also like attention to detail, like this, like the record you guys made, it's a pop record, but it's stealthy, very technical. Like I'm looking at you rhythm section back there. Like the like there's some syncopation going on like within the music that's like really, it really kicks in and brings the whole thing to another level, which I really like.
Yeah, I mean, a drummer who's a producer is like a deadly weapon, you know? So
Yeah.
It's true.
should have been a drummer.
Should have been. Really.
Cool. So couple last things before we close up here. Just like where do you see, I don't want to talk too much about the coronavirus, but like how do you feel about putting out a record during all this when you can't like go out and play a show to promote it? You know what I mean? Like,
super
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
One of those things that, you know, we planned with the label a long time ago when everything was going to go down. And I mean, aside from, I mean, everything going on with COVID, it's just it wound up becoming such a difficult time to release music in general. Like, because there are just so many things that we need to prioritize in the world, in this country, in Philly, that it felt, and it continues to feel like very tough to say, oh, hey, check out this music that we recorded. You know, we're coming from a privileged position, and like the fact that we have access to the things that we do, even like we all have day jobs. Like for any outsider, like we do take this like very seriously professionally, but like it is like a hobby in a lot of ways. Like we have the luxury to come here and play music a few nights a week and record music. And I think that like releasing this record at this time, like definitely made us even more aware of some of those things. And I don't know, it's been tough. It's been really hard.
I mean, we had a specific conversation about pushing it back, but it had already gotten pushed back so long and so many times, and it's been such a long time coming. Like, you know, 2010 being written almost 10 years ago. Like, so for and you know, just the lack of music that we've actually consistently put out, that was weighing on us. And you know, even if I mean, people will eventually hear it whenever they're ready to, and you know, we'll just deal with that as it comes.
Yeah.
And we're not like Davis was saying, we're not really putting ourselves out there that much to draw attention to ourselves that much. I mean, we appreciate being able to talk about it, but you know, there's a lot of other more important stuff going on. But it's also giving us the opportunity to rectify some of that, where we can work on more new music, and actually by the time things come back around, you know, have more music than we've had in the past, and finish more music than we've finished in the past. So, I mean, our goal right now is that we're going to actually do that full length that we were planning to work on. So we have kind of the climate to do that in a lot of ways that we didn't before, where we're playing a couple shows a month or whatever it is, and spending that time prepping as opposed to creating. So, you know, we're just kind of like letting the ride take us in that direction, and just embrace it.
Yeah. I mean, like to the restrictions of COVID, it's kind of amazing how much playing live has been, you know, a great opportunity for us. Like we've always played a lot here in Philly. I mean, some periods of time more than others where we were literally playing. Like for the first few years as a band, we probably played in the city 2 to 4 times a month, you know, like rapid fire. And even over the years, like doing shows here and out of town, it really disrupted our workflow, honestly, like with putting music out, actually putting music out. And like, we're always like, oh, well, we need to pay for the studio. We need to and it was like so much pressure. And now it's kind of like, we're all working from home for the most part. Things are, or we have been at least up until more recently. And then, you know, it allows us, it makes you think about what you want to prioritize and what you want to do. And we don't have to honestly worry about going and playing a 45-minute set. Like we can come into the space and like Nick said, focus on this next chapter, let the music that we've created be out there and hopefully find some people and find some traction, but also be ready for this next thing whenever things open up, you know, whenever things are okay, safe.
Yes.
Even if they're not, to just put out more music.
I was going to say, I haven't seen you guys play before. I was supposed to. I was going to Johnny Brenda's to see you guys play, and my ID was expired, so they wouldn't let me upstairs. Damn. And I heard you guys playing upstairs, and a buddy of mine who was playing in a different band snuck me up through I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he snuck me up through the green room. I missed you guys, but when everybody can play again, I will be coming to the first show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a fun show. So speaking of COVID stuff, we literally, for a lot of our friends, it wound up being like the last show that we all went to. Like, because we played with Dirty Dollhouse. I forget, I guess it was in March.
It was the first week of March.
Week of March. And it was packed in there. We were having a great time. But also like just at that point, things had started to just start to bubble really in the US. Like there were a couple little things and people were like, oh, you know, kind of like almost at the status of the murder hornet thing where it was like, oh shit, is it going to come? Are they going to like, is it, but other people are like, I mean, obviously way different than now. Not as divisive of a topic for whatever reason it's divisive, but literally that Monday or whatever, like maybe it was like that Tuesday, they shut everything down. And we were all sitting there going like
we were all just together, you know, like everyone with 300 people were together like 2 days ago.
Dude, like my mom came down, like we're all hugging, you know what I mean? Everybody's hugging her. I'm like, oh Jesus, like this, did we really like, just really screw ourselves here? But yeah, we'll see you at that show, man.
Yeah,
well,
just 100%.
Just for thrills, we'll sneak you in the back. It'll be.
Hey, I appreciate I renewed my ID since then. So
yeah, that's not.
I'm not with it. I still need to renew mine. So.
Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else you guys want to say, or I don't know. That's everything I've got. So
new music out. Check it out on Spotify and Apple Music if you're that kind of person. We're on social media, Instagram, Twitter. Phasing out our Facebook. Just kidding.
Join the choir.
Yeah, join the choir.
We work really hard to put that music out, and we'd love for anyone to listen and tell us what you think, whether you love it, you like it, you hate it, and you never want to listen again. We still want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Give it a spin.
Yeah, and aside from just saying thanks to everybody that has tuned in to the record so far and has been really kind and let us know. Just want to say congrats to you guys too, Philly Globe. You guys it's really cool to see it taken off. I mean, you guys are talking to everybody that we love for sure. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Thanks for having us on.
No problem at all. Thank you for talking. So congrats on the record, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh yeah. All right.